What if I told you another version of you might be trying to send you a message right now? Sounds crazy, right? But listen to this. A woman named Sarah kept having the same vivid dream. In it, she was walking through a city she had never been to, down a street she had never seen. But every time, right before waking up, she'd see one thing: a neon sign with a word she didn't understand. Months later, on a trip to another country, she froze. She was standing in the exact same street from her dreams. Same buildings, same turn, and there it was, the neon sign, the same word, in a language she had never spoken. How? Was it just a coincidence? A glitch in her brain? Or was another version of her trying to send her a message? By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to spot these signs and what to do when it happens. Because if you've ever felt like you've lived a moment before, or sensed something you couldn't explain, you might not be imagining it. You might just be receiving a message from another you. Let's dive in. Let me ask you something. Have you ever made a tiny choice? Like taking a different route home, changing seats last minute, or answering a random call, and later realized it completely changed your day, maybe even your life? Now imagine this. What if there's a version of you in another reality who made the opposite choice? That's the multiverse theory. The idea that every decision you make splits reality, creating infinite versions of you, each living out different possibilities. And before you start thinking, okay, but that's just sci-fi stuff, hold on. Real science backs this up. Quantum physics suggests that reality isn't fixed. Particles exist in multiple states at once until they're observed. Meaning, multiple realities could be running in parallel, even right now. But here's where it gets weird. Some people claim they've felt it. They've received messages, glimpses, warnings, things that shouldn't be possible. What if another version of you already knows the answers you're looking for? Maybe they avoided a mistake you're about to make. Maybe they found the path you're meant to take. And what if they're trying to tell you? Over the next 20 minutes, I'll break down 6 signs a parallel you is reaching out, starting with one you've probably felt already. The signs are happening everywhere. Some people notice them, most don't. But after today, you will. Because if a parallel version of you is reaching out, you need to know how to listen. Let's start with the first and most common sign. 1. Déjà vu, the feeling of, I've lived this before. You know that weird moment when you swear you've lived something before? You walk into a room, hear someone say a sentence, and suddenly, boom, it's like you've already experienced this exact scene. Most people brush it off. Just my brain glitching. But what if it's something more? Some researchers believe déjà vu might be a memory leak, a moment slipping through from a parallel version of you who has already lived this. Sounds wild, right? But listen to this. In 2014, a man named Greg was on a road trip. Out of nowhere, he got this overwhelming déjà vu. He knew the next song on the radio. He knew a red truck was about to pass him. Then suddenly, he felt an intense urge to pull over. A few seconds later, boom, a massive accident unfolded right in front of him. If he hadn't pulled over, he would have been in the middle of it. He didn't know how to explain it. But what if, just what if, a version of him in another timeline had already been in that crash? And somehow that warning bled through. Déjà vu isn't just random. Could be a message, a signal, and it's just the first sign. Because sometimes the universe doesn't just send feelings, it sends actual codes. Let me tell you what I mean. 2. Synchronicities and repeating numbers, the universe's secret codes. Alright, tell me if this has happened to you. You keep seeing the same numbers everywhere. 1111, 333, 777. You check the time? 4:44. A receipt? $22.22. It happens so much it stops feeling like a coincidence. Most people shrug it off. Just random. But then, something weird happens. You think about an old friend, and they text you. You randomly hear a song from your childhood, and later that day, someone mentions it out of nowhere. You keep seeing the same name, the same symbol over and over. This isn't just luck. It's synchronicity. It's like the universe, or maybe even another version of you, is trying to get your attention. Synchronicities are breadcrumbs. They lead you somewhere. But what happens when these messages don't just appear in numbers or coincidences? What if they start showing up in your dreams? And not just any dreams, but dreams of a life you've never lived? 3. Dreams that feel too real. You wake up heart pounding. For a second, you're sure that what just happened was real. The people, the places, the emotions. It wasn't just a dream. It felt like you were somewhere else. And then weeks, maybe years later, you step into a place you've never been before. And suddenly you recognize it. Déjà vu? Maybe. But what if that dream wasn't just your mind playing tricks on you? What if it was a memory from another version of you? This happened to a guy named Daniel. Years ago, he had a vivid dream where he was standing in a cafe in a foreign country, looking out at a bridge with red lanterns. He had never seen this place before. Not in movies, not in pictures. It was just a dream, until 4 years later. He was traveling through Asia, wandering through a random city. He turned a corner, and there it was. The same cafe, the same bridge, the same red lanterns. He had never been there before in this life, but somehow he already knew it. Now, you could say this was just an insanely strong case of déjà vu. But what if it was something more? Some people believe that dreams like this aren't just glimpses of another reality. They're messages. Maybe another version of you is guiding you, giving you pieces of a life you haven't reached yet. But here's where it gets even weirder. What if these dreams aren't just showing you something, but actually teaching you something? And more importantly, what if you could learn how to use them for sudden thoughts or urges? You're walking home, same route as always, but today, something feels off. Out of nowhere, you get this urge. Take a different street. No reason. No logic. Just a feeling. You follow it. Minutes later, you hear sirens. There was an accident right where you would have been. Or maybe you suddenly get an intense, almost random thought. I should reach out to someone you haven't talked to in years. And when you do, they needed you. Coincidence? Instinct? Or is it something else? What if these moments, these gut feelings, these urgent thoughts aren't just random? What if another version of you, one that already knows what's about to happen, is trying to steer you? So, let me ask you, have you ever had a moment where you just knew something without knowing why? Tell me in the comments. But what if these nudges get so strong? You start feeling like you don't belong here anymore. That's the next sign, and it's a wild one. 5. Reality glitches. When the universe doesn't make sense. Have you ever lost something, searched everywhere, only to find it later in a place you already checked? Or maybe time has felt wrong, like you blink and suddenly an hour is gone. Or the opposite. Somehow you get somewhere way too fast, like time skipped forward for you. These aren't just weird moments. Some people believe they're glitches in reality, proof that something is shifting around you. There's a story about a woman who set her phone down on her desk. She turned away for just a second. When she looked back, It was gone. She tore the whole room apart. Nowhere. Hours later, she gave up, sat down at her desk, and there it was, sitting exactly where she left it. Sounds impossible, right? But this happens to people all the time. Objects vanishing, reappearing, sometimes even changing. Here's where it gets even wilder. The more you notice these glitches, the more they happen. It's like once your brain starts recognizing the cracks in reality, reality starts responding. And here's the craziest part. The more you notice these shifts, the stronger your intuition becomes. Because maybe, just maybe, these aren't glitches at all. Maybe they're clues, signs, that another version of you is trying to break through. And if that's true, then the biggest question is, what are they trying to tell you? 6. Your intuition is stronger than ever. You ever just know something without any reason to? You don't have the evidence. No logical explanation. But deep inside, you feel it. And later, you realize you were right. That's not random. That's intuition. And if you've been experiencing the signs we've talked about, chances are yours is getting stronger. The more you notice synchronicities, the more déjà vu hits you. The more you see reality glitching, the stronger your connection becomes. Some call it a gut feeling. Others call it a sixth sense. But what if it's something else? What if it's a parallel version of you guiding you? Think about it. If realities can shift, if versions of you can exist in different timelines, then what if your intuition isn't just random thoughts? What if it's a message, a signal coming from another version of you, one who's already walked the path you're on now, one who's trying to steer you in the right direction? And if that's true, then here's the final mind-blowing truth. You're not just receiving messages. You can start sending them back. But how? That's where everything changes. Because some people have figured it out. And when they did, their entire reality shifted. Alright, so now you know the signs. You know that something or someone could be reaching out. But the real question is, how do you tune in? How do you receive these messages clearly? Because here's the thing, these signals, they're already happening. But most people ignore them. Okay, you're seeing the signs, but what if you could hear them loud and clear? Here's how to tune in. 1. Get quiet. First, you need to shut out the noise. Not just external distractions, but the constant thoughts racing through your head. A simple way, meditation. Now, before you roll your eyes, this isn't about sitting in silence for hours. It's about training your mind to listen. Try this, close your eyes, focus on your breath, and ask yourself, what do I need to know right now? Then, just listen. First, it might feel like nothing's happening, but over time, subtle ideas, images, or feelings will start coming through. And here's the freaky part. Sometimes those messages won't make sense until later. 2. Pay attention to the signs. If you're seeing repeating numbers, write them down. If you're having vivid dreams, journal them. If a random thought feels important, don't brush it off. Because these aren't just coincidences. They could be pieces of a bigger puzzle. And the more you notice, the clearer the pattern becomes. 3. Trust your gut. Ever had a decision to make and deep inside you knew what the right answer was? That's intuition. And intuition is often a direct line to something bigger, maybe even a version of you that's already lived through this moment. Real story. There's a woman who had a gut feeling not to take her usual drive home. She ignored it. But then, the feeling got louder. She finally took a different route, only to find out later there was a massive accident on her original path. Call it luck, call it instinct, but what if it was something else? What if another version of her, One that made the wrong choice was sending a warning. All right, let's take a step back for a second. Because after everything we've talked about, the signs, the messages, the strange moments that feel too real, I need to ask you something. What if, right now, another version of you is watching this exact same video? Think about it. If parallel realities exist, that means another you is sitting somewhere, listening to these same words. Maybe they're further ahead. Maybe they already figured it out. Or maybe their version of this video has a different ending. Maybe in their world, they already know the truth. The question is, do you? Because if this video found its way to you, it's not by accident. Something or someone wants you to wake up. And now that you're starting to see the signs, what are you going to do next? Drop in the comments. Which sign freaked you out the most? And if a parallel you has ever reached out, spill it. I'm reading every story. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video.